So you were not physically attracted to Christine. That's an understatement. You were grossed out by her. I won't say that, but the nachos grossed me out enough to make me go, okay, I'm waiting to marry her. How does it feel to hear her? It hurts. It's horrible. I didn't know that until recently. I'm just being honest. How do you all feel about this? I mean, to hear this, does it concern you? I think sometimes in relationships, you have to be careful when to be honest and how honest to be. Sometimes I think we go a little bit too far. Besties, I can't believe this, but I was checking on some social media stuff, and every once in a while I go around and look at the different TLCs to see if there's some clip of something I haven't seen from Sister Wives, and I noticed that. So they're getting rid of episodes of Sister Wives on HBO Max, and they're dumping a bunch of TLC stuff and reality television, and HBO Max is going to be moving more towards their own content and not housing all of Discovery stuff. So I was noticing like all these older episodes were getting deleted and purged, and I thought that TLC was trying to hide things. So naturally, I was concerned that maybe they're trying to scrub the history because now they're trying to rewrite history for Kody. And some of the earlier seasons are really, really bad for Kody. I mean, the way that he acted, the things that he said, the dynamics, and the family. I also wondered if they were going to try to scrub things with Christine's book coming out, if they were going to try to cover things up. Because listen, when they've canceled previous seasons of other shows like, say, the Duggars, they hide a lot of their content related to the Duggars. They hide the content of the shows that when there's been scandal and fallout. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to start hiding all of Kody's stuff and the fallout covering their tracks. Maybe it's to cover their tracks for the verbal abuse or whatever it was. And then I realized and found this. First of all, one of the TLCs in India is like re-uploading every single episode from earlier seasons, which is wild. So you really get to go back in time to reconfigure your brain about how messed up this show was. But there's another one. So for years, TLC has hidden this tell-all that happened when the book Becoming Sister Wives came out, and the tell-all was hosted by Natalie Morales. And Morales was not a super big fan of Kody. And if you recall, she did the season 1 tell-all after they got married, and then she did this one after becoming Sister Wives. And then we never saw her again. And she confronted Kody several times during this episode in this tell-all, and they've been hiding this, and now it's up again. And then I realized that Christine wrote about it in her book. They have been trying to hide this episode for such a long time. I partially think this was to protect Kody because of how bad he looked, and I don't think they're protecting him anymore. I think they're done. So the Nacho episode where he talks about how unattractive Christine was and how repulsed he was by her is back, and it's available. And it proves to me that they are done covering for Kody. Does size matter to you, Kody? I mean, were you grossed out by you said she was chubby and she was eating the nacho? I will be honest, I was not attracted to Christine in any kind of physical sense. I mean, I look back and write, I wonder, was that fair? But I can't even look there because we have children together, we have a life together, we have a relationship, and we found our sweet spot. You were not physically attracted to Christine. That's an understatement. The premise of this tell-all, it was supposed to be about talking about their book Becoming Sister Wives. And Natalie pulled out parts of the book that she felt were the most compelling to discuss. The whole episode, one still can't find, but they put this back up, and I'm glad they have because she says, does size matter? And while he's answering that question, Janelle is looking him square in the eye. He's not looking at Janelle. He's talking about how big Christine was because she was a chubby girl eating nachos. And he has Janelle sitting right next to him. And she's probably the same size as Christine. And he is talking about how unattractive Christine is because of her weight. And at no time does he think it's inappropriate that he would share this kind of statement or share this story. Mary sticks up for Christine, but I remember when this episode aired, and I remember when the book came out. And I remember thinking, why would you put this in your book? Unless, it's the truth. He wasn't attracted to her. But why would you put this in the book? What benefit does it do? Just because being honest doesn't mean being honest is being fair or being kind. You don't have to say things that are hurtful. Not every innermost thought we have deserves to be shared. Why would you put that in a public book, knowing it would become public fodder? And it really only got worse from there. You were grossed out by her. I won't say that, but the nachos grossed me out enough to make me go, okay, I'm waiting to marry her. How does it feel to hear her? It hurts. It's horrible. I didn't know that until recently. I'm just being honest. How do you all feel about this? To hear this, does it concern you? I think sometimes in relationships, you have to be careful when to be honest and how honest to be. Kody had no shame. So what I also noticed about that, which I picked up a lot on over the years, is that sometimes if one of Kody was like directing his anger or hostility or saying something rude about one of the wives, sometimes one of the wives that wasn't the direct target would start smiling. And I noticed that Janelle had a really interesting smile on her face when he said that he wasn't attracted to her and he was grossed and it made him not want to marry her. And then she smiled really big and then looked over Christine. And then Mary started defending Christine. And then Janelle was going to interrupt, which appeared to look like she was going to defend Kody. And, I think sometimes indirectly because they're competing and they got so used to hearing him insult the other that maybe in a way it's like this reaction of well, at least he's not insulting me, or at least I'm not the one that's getting the wrath, or well, at least I'm the prettier today. It couldn't have been healthy is all I'm trying to say. And after watching and reading Christine's book and knowing how much of her book is dedicated to how poorly she felt about her appearance and how much of the book is focused on how she wants to lose weight and she needs to be this weight. And she talks about the number on the scale that she wants to be and focusing on not eating her feelings and so much time and energy focused on her size. And I thought, gosh, Kody, you are such a jerk because it's because of you that she thought that she had to do better and be a certain size. And if you got to that certain size, then she would be good enough for you. And even when she lost weight, she wasn't good enough. So she was never good enough. But the damage that he did, well, you have to understand that I love Christine, and I have a beautiful relationship. It just didn't start out in your romance style. Do you regret saying what you said earlier to us today? She called you out on it after the matter of just understanding. We've been processing a lot all of our lives and kind of understanding where we've been at whole nacho cheese thing. That was years before Christine and I got married. So in the first couple seasons of the Tell All, what they did, which was a little bit different after they progressed down the line, was they would sort of break out into individual one-on-ones if there was a specific conversation that the host felt like they needed to have with the person regarding something that occurred, right? If they wanted to go deeper in this episode, she went deeper privately with Janelle, and she went deeper privately with Kody. What she didn't do was pull Christine aside and allow Christine the opportunity to share how she felt, which makes me wonder if that was something that Kody controlled. But obviously what he said, and how he said it by how he said he wasn't attracted to her, and it was an understatement how unattracted he was to her. They knew that they needed to correct this. So to me, it feels like they were trying to give him an opportunity to make amends and say, yeah, I should not have said that, and correct what he said and been more sensitive. She says, some of the people watching are going to watch this and see what you said and think that you were insensitive. And do you regret saying that? And instead of answering the question, he just sidesteps the question and then does his normal word salad. And it's like, well, you don't. We're processing a lot that's going on in our lives, and we've been going through a lot in our lives, which doesn't make sense. And I think there were a couple things that were happening here. They were on a series where they were supposed to be promoting this concept that they got married for the purpose of love. They were trying to promote this concept that the polygamy that we saw on their show wasn't what we viewed the world of polygamy as, which was that men were being set up in marriages. The marriages were arranged, that marriages often weren't built upon love, that the men were just using the women, that the women were just objects for sex and for babies, and that, it wasn't like that the women really had love and deep, valuable relationships. And that's not what he showed, right? And he didn't say that he regretted making that comment about her. He was given an opportunity to walk it back, and he didn't. And he was kind of proving the stereotype that he married her despite not being attracted to her because he needed X amount of lives right when you said that. In fact, all the other women kind of were like, oh no, Will, I'm not sitting here rehearsing a line or stating a line that I've rehearsed. You asked me a question. I stated kind of where I was at the time. Did you catch the very last bit at the end? He said, I'm not here memorizing a line and saying something that I've memorized as a part of a script. You asked me a question, and I told you where I was at the time, but it was that part about I didn't memorize what I was going to say. One of the aspects of Christine's book also is about how getting on the set, they would watch Kody and Robin, and they would say things and sounded like it had been rehearsed, and she said that she could tell that they had had some sort of conversation before they got to the set to film, and that their story was aligned. It was like they had rehearsed the script of what it was they were going to say, regardless if it was true or not. It was just to be on the same page, to have the same story, to have the same agenda, to have the same talking point. And that wasn't what the show was supposed to be about. And she started to notice that Kody and Robin often were doing that. And what they were saying was opposite of what the experience was in the family. And that Kody started talking like Robin, started saying and using the same words as Robin, started thinking like Robin. And I think that Kody stayed on a script while on the show to protect the show. And so he had to act as though he wasn't a certain way in order to be marketable. And I think he made some of the wives say things and controlled what they said so that they could maintain their image, right? And it's when he went off script that he got in the most trouble. And I think Robin was trying to control him so that they could keep the show going, obviously keep the money flowing so she can keep shopping. But he's in so many words admitting that they script what they say. So he kind of exposes that is given an opportunity to walk back what he says, and he refuses. Instead says we have a good marriage now, but that doesn't change what you said. You didn't have to say that. And for whatever reason, until now, TLC has hidden this, and now they just released this like a couple weeks ago on their YouTube, and they have all of their the most dramatic moments of all of the tell-alls from Sister Wives. And it's interesting because the majority of the remaining tell-all episodes that you see, it only goes up to the final tell-all that they all sat down to when they were all in the same room. And that was when they were just moved to Flagstaff. It was before COVID. And it was when Kody was telling Mary that she would have a new beginning, and he was acting like he and Mary were getting back together and that they were courting and they were dating, and it was cute. But for the other other tell-alls, when they were all sitting together, all the other dramatic moments were about Kody and Mary's relationship. Seriously, about the catfishing, about their divorce, about Kody and Mary's strained relationship. And I think with Christine, she was less obvious in her. I'm unhappy. I'm pulling away from the family. She maintained more of a status quo and more under the radar. So I think it was a shock when she left before Mary, because Mary was so unhappy for so much longer. But it's telling to me that, like, the first couple ones are about his issues with Christine. There's almost no dramatic ones when it comes to his relationship with Janelle, almost nothing dramatic when it comes to Robin. It's just all about Kody's dwindling marriages with Mary, and then this Nacho episode. And I just wish, honestly, that they would stop hiding these episodes. I wish they would stop protecting him. And I'm glad they've put this back out there, but with the real answer here is to be, upload that episode, make it available so people can see what they said about becoming sister wives. See how horrible Kody is in that conversation. See how dehumanizing he treats Christine. There's also a whole part of that episode where they admit Kody and Robin to going to therapy with Mary before they ever got married because they were already having problems in the family. That tell-all really exposed a lot of the problems in the family that were deep-rooted. And I think part of the reason they scrubbed it was, one, to protect Kody because of what he said and how bad he looked, but two, to protect the secrets of the family and how much fracture and issues there were between them. And so now that everything has fallen apart, now that this book is coming out kind of exposing everything and how fake it is, now suddenly they're no longer protecting Kody. I don't know if this is going to continue. I don't know if we're going to start seeing more, previously deleted scenes showing back up, but they're definitely not covering for him, at least when it comes to the older content. So we'll have to see how well the rest of this is going to play out, cause Christine was laughing about everything that he's about to do in season, and how it's just ridiculous how he acts. I think, release the whole episode. TLC. Do it. Show everyone who the real Kody Brown is. All right, you guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Are you surprised that TLC is no longer covering, or were they forced to do this because Christine was going to talk about it? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe.